you shall give the court and the jury the trial of this issue shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. So let me go. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Judge Stokes.
Good afternoon. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury, spelling your first and last name?
Sure. My name is Sean Wilkins, S-H-A-W-N. My last name is Wilkins, W-I-L-K-I-N-S.
And what is your city and state of residence, sir? Where do you live now?
Currently, I live in Uxbridge, Massachusetts.
Did you travel down here for this trial?
I did, yes.
Okay. And where are you from originally?
I am from Uxbridge, Massachusetts originally.
Okay, so you've gone home.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What do you do for a living these days, sir?
I'm currently employed as a public safety officer for Bryant University.
Okay. And is that in Massachusetts?
That is in the state of Rhode Island.
Okay, got it. Were you previously a police department with the Chatham County Police Department? Or a police officer with the Chatham County Police Department?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what were the years that you were with the Chatham County Police?
If I recall correctly, I started in March of 2021 and ended in July of 2023.
So you've since left the department and moved back to your hometown?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Okay. During your time with the Chatham County Police Department, what assignments or positions did you hold, in order if you can remember?
Yes, so I started off as a patrolman, graduating the academy. After about a year of service, I applied to the CID, the Detective Division, and I was granted the position, I believe, in late September of 2022, and then I went back to patrol in February of 2023, where I remained until I left.
Now, you said the Detectives Division has an acronym CID. What does that stand for?
Criminal Investigations Division.
Okay. So you mentioned you got to CID as a detective in, I think, September of 2022?
Yes, sir.
So as of October of 2022, were you working for the Chatham County Police Department as a detective?
Yes, sir, I was.
And did you, on the morning of October 5th, 2022, respond to a missing child call at 535 Buckhalter Road?
Yes, I did.
And when you got there, did you conduct an interview with the defendant, Leilani Simon?
Yes, I did.
And do you see her sitting in the courtroom today?
That I do, yes, sir.
Can you identify her by an article of clothing or where she's sitting, please?
She is currently in the table to the right of you, sitting down with the glasses on right there.
Witnesses identify the defendant. Now, were you first on the scene for the detectives?
I was, yes, sir.
Okay, so you were the first detective to arrive there.
That is correct, yes.
A bunch of other police officers, but you're the first detective.
Yes.
And when you got there, what was the first thing you did? Did you walk right up to her and start talking to her, or did you get some background, or what?
No, I did not. At first, when I arrived on scene, I believe I was briefed by Lieutenant Foster, just giving a short synopsis of what the call was about. And then I would say approximately 5 minutes after that is when I engaged in a conversation with the defendant.
Now, I'm displaying on the screen a slide from State's Exhibit 3, and I think it is slide 12, although the number's kind of difficult to make out. Do you see yourself in that picture?
Yes, that is me.
That's you wearing the dark colored jacket?
Yes, sir.
And is that Lieutenant Foster to your left in real life, but to the right in the photograph?
Yes, sir. That does appear to be Lieutenant Foster.
Now, would this image reflect the approximate time of your arrival at the scene and getting briefed by Lieutenant Foster?
Yes, that is what appears to be happening, yes.
All right, so going off of the timestamp, what time would that have been?
The timestamp reflects 10:44 a.m.
Does that sound right to you?
That does, yes.
Okay. And you said it was only maybe 5 minutes after this that you spoke to the defendant?
I would say so, yes, sir.
And where was it that you talked to her?
If I do recall correctly, I had gone through the back gate to where the defendant was at the time.
Are you referring to the swimming pool area, patio area in the back?
Roughly.
Okay. Who was out there at the time?
I would say the defendant, her brother, Mr. Paul, and her fiance, Mr. Daniel.
Okay. Did you separate the three of them to conduct your interviews?
I did, yes, sir.
Okay. And did you ultimately end up talking to all three of them on the scene?
Ultimately, yes. I did at one point or another speak to all three, yes.
Okay. Well, I want to ask you specifically about your interview with the defendant, okay?
Yes, sir.
Did you ask her when the last time she had seen her child was?
That I did, yes, sir.
And what did she say to that?
If I recall correctly, the defendant explained that she had gone to bed at approximately midnight that evening, and yes, that is approximately midnight that evening.
And was she putting that out there as the last time she had seen her child, Quentin, I should say, the missing child, sometime before she went to bed at midnight?
Yes, sir. When I had asked that question, I believe I did ask if she remembers putting Quentin down at that time, yes.
Okay. And did she tell you when she had woken up in the morning?
I believe she explained that she woke up at 9 a.m. that next morning.
So in this initial interview with you, the first detective on scene, she's putting herself in bed around midnight. Last time she saw Quentin was before that, and has herself waking up at 9 a.m.
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Was your interview with the defendant audio recorded?
Yes, I did use an audio recording device for our interview on scene.
Did you have a body-worn camera at that time?
I do not believe I did at that time, no.
And is that because detectives didn't have body-worn cameras at that point?
Not normally. We did not wear body-worn cameras normally in our uniform.
Okay. Do you see in front of you a disc marked as State's Exhibit 5?
That I do, that is correct.
Okay. And do you know what's on that disc?
I believe it is that audio recording from that morning with the defendant.
And have you listened to the contents of that disc, at least in part, to verify that that's what it is?
Yes, sir, I have.
Okay. And does that recording fairly and accurately depict your interview with her at the scene?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would move this into evidence as State's Exhibit 5.
No objection, Your Honor.
State's Exhibit 5 is admitted.
And Your Honor, at this point, I'll publish a brief portion from the beginning of this recording. I'm going to start at the very beginning of the recording, and I'll state for the record when I stop the playback.
Oh, I think it was me.
So when's the last time you saw your child?
When I went to bed last night.
And what time was that? Do
It
you
was
remember?
around 12.
12?
Or 12 when I went to bed. I had my wisdom teeth removed yesterday.
I'm sorry, that's
So I went to bed kind of late.
I get you. Listen, I had them up too.
So and then I got up this morning about 9.
About 9?
And my front door is open. So I went up and I shut it, not thinking about anything like that. And I look over and check on my kids, and he was gone. All the rest were there. He was
It's
gone.
alright. It's alright. It's alright. Take some deep breaths.
And that was actually a 34-second clip that I cut out of the larger file that was admitted, and I'll make it clear for the court reporter and the clerk at some point on a break what portion of the larger file was actually played.
Thank you. Any issues with that?
No issues, Judge.
Okay, thank you.
Now, Did you go to headquarters that day for follow-on interviews with, involving the defendant, Daniel Youngkin and Paul Simon?
Yes, I did. That is correct.
And were you paired up with an FBI agent to participate in these interviews?
I was, yes.
And do you remember who you were paired up with?
I do have my report here, if I could look at that just to remember the name.
Sure, if that would refresh your memory.
Yes, I was paired up with FBI Special Agent Taylor Burns.
And who did you all interview of the three?
The defendant's brother, Paul.
Okay. Now, sometime over the coming days, were you asked to submit a request to Verizon for phone records associated with a phone number for a Henry Bubba Moss Jr.?
Yes, I was.
And did you do that?
Yes.
How did you do that?
There is a paper form that we were sent by the cell phone carrier in which I fill out the identifying information, such as the name that the number is registered to, the actual phone number, and I believe a time frame in which the records that we are requesting are needed.
And did you submit that request to Verizon?
Yes, I did.
And did they produce responsive records to you in response to that request?
Yes, sir, they did.
How do they give those to you? Do they mail them to you in the mail or email them or what?
I believe it was an email, sir.
Okay. And when you got those records, did you forward those to the lead investigator, Marion Lemons, who's here in court with us?
I did, yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. One moment, please, Your Honor. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Hilliard?
Just a few.
Mr. Wilkins, how long have you been in law enforcement?
I was employed as a police dispatcher in Holliston, Massachusetts for approximately 3 years. After that, in 2021, is when I was employed with the Chatham County Police Department for about 2.5 years.
So from like 2018 to 2021, you're a police dispatcher. I guess you moved down here and were
Patrolman at that time.
patrolman at Chatham County.
Yes, and then transitioned into detective role in September of 2022.
And you were a detective from September and then went back to patrol in February?
That is correct, yes.
I was just curious. That's kind of a short time. Why?
I just didn't feel fulfilled, I guess, at in the detective unit.
So, and then when did you move back to Massachusetts?
So I left the detective unit in February of 2023 and was on patrol, and then I would say in July of 2023 is when I moved back to Massachusetts.
All right. So you've been up there about 15 months, a little bit more at this point in time.
I think that's fairly accurate.
You said you had a conversation with Ms. Simon at the patio area, and I believe Mr. Simon was there, Paul Simon was there, and was anyone else present?
I believe the defendant's fiance at the time, Daniel, was there. I don't remember how close in proximity he was, though.
Any children there?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Any children there?
I can't recall.
Okay. How about any other adults?
There were a few adults. I think I talked to them sparingly after the interviews with the three, but I can't recall their relation to the defendant off the top of my head.
And how long were you on the scene that day? We're talking October 5th, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How long were you actually on scene that day at 535 Buckhalter Road?
From my arrival at 10:44 in the morning, I believe we didn't leave, if memory serves me correctly, maybe 5 or 6 p.m. Again, that's a ballpark estimate, though.
So at least 7 or 8 hours, though.
Roughly, yes, sir.
And when you did leave, my understanding is, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, just trying to make sure I understand, but when you did leave 7 or 8 hours later, it was to go to the police station and conduct interviews, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. So it wasn't like you just went home. You were there for 7 or 8 hours, and then you went and did an interview, correct?
No, sir. There was no downtime between leaving the scene and going to the station.
And that's kind of what I was getting to. Now, while you were on the scene for those 7 or 8 hours, was it an increasing number of people that were arriving on the scene?
I would say more resources had arrived on scene in an attempt to find Quentin at that time, yes.
So the number of people kept going up during that 7 or 8 hour period?
Yes, sir.
And to the best of your knowledge, was this all of your involvement in the case, to the best of your recollection?
Outside of my initial on-scene interview with the defendant and the interview with Paul Simon and what Mr. Dean had asked me of the cell phone records, in terms of major involvement, yes. After that, I was moved to more of a supportive role, where I was just there to help as a body mostly.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. On the day that you were there on October 5th, did you conduct any of the searches on the house or anything like that while you were there?
Not any of the in-depth searches to my recollection. It was the interviews, conversations with the other detectives that had arrived on scene, and then the interviews shortly after.
That's all the questions I got. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Dean?
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. May this witness be excused.
You may.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may step down. Thank you.
Thank you.